When you talk about the government's effort in helping these people, already you've said, well, it's going to be privately driven. But for a lot of people, they still have problems of getting the space. Now we're talking about land acquisition. And I'm sure that's where the government should come in. If I'm going to have a pond, and even talking about the feeds for the fry in the first few weeks, how can government help maybe a potential fish farmer who is in the business?
Well, there are many ways. First and foremost, access to land. I think today, with the way we're doing agriculture as a business, I must say I'm very excited with the response that we're getting all across the country, and especially also from the state governors. Every single state governor is really realized what we've been saying. Agriculture is a business, and you can generate a lot of money from it, not just from crops, but livestock and fisheries. And so there's greater willingness today to give land to investors in the agricultural space. We do this all the time in my ministry. I've got fantastic staff, and there's not a single investor that wants to go into agriculture that needs land that we've not been able to handhold and help to get land. Not one since I've been here. And so I think that people just need to be aware of that, and we are willing to help them. We're willing to work. We work very closely with all the state commissioners of agriculture across all the states and all of the governors, and I give it to them that they are supporting the agricultural transformation agenda of Mr. President. Now, in terms of other additional support you need more than land. In most cases, just the skills, just to know what to do, right? And so we are investing quite a lot. Mr. President visited Castina recently, and we went to one of the Shonga centers, and it was quite exciting for him to see how the technical training was being done there in Shonga. And we'd said that what we are going to do is to take those kind of centers that you have in Castina and replicate them on a larger scale, in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. So you can train people, give them technical skills, give them managerial skills, and then give them access to land and finance they need to run agriculture as a business. And so, as you know, Mr. President launched this program for young agricultural entrepreneurs. We're going to roll it out this quarter, before this quarter rolls out, and that will help us quite a lot with the issue of jobs.
You talked about connivance. You talked about the importation. And in regulating, how are you going to ensure that, do you have the personnel to handle this? And are you sure that there will be no connivance amongst your personnel?
Well, one thing that you've got to realize is any system that you develop anywhere in the world, it's never going to have a system that is 100% foolproof. Because if you have anybody that's criminally minded, they're going to always try to find a way to get around any system, no matter how good it is. But the fact of the matter is that if you increase the cost of them trying to break a system, then it's going to make it very difficult for people to do that. Now, in terms of personnel, yes, we have a lot. We have a federal Department of Fisheries, very well staffed. And we have decentralized our office operations. We are going to closely monitor everything today. For example, take the issue of licenses, how licenses are issued. The whole system was opaque, right? Somebody would just come in and get a license and say, well, I want to bring in 50,000 metric tons of fish. Well, how do you know that person is in the fish business? How did they get the license? So I've basically, even in my own ministry, as we are following Mr. President's directive on reviving the fishery industry, I've already read out the Riot Act that, if anybody gives fishing licenses the wrong way, they'll feel the full weight of the law, because everybody has to have a level playing field. And the system that we're running is very transparent. If you're in the fishing business, and if you had done something wrong by not declaring how much fish you were bringing in, and you want to correct that, there's always room for Truth and Reconciliation Committee and things like that. We're willing to do that, but we're not going to allow people to continue to rob the country of its own resources, just making money and creaming everybody else off.
Is there a plan to move from 25% a little further?
I think you guys like fish too much. Yeah, no, it's not, as I said, we have not banned fish. What we're doing is creating incentives for people to grow fish here. And maybe I use that as a platform just to talk quite generally about the whole issue of import substitution policy. Because, an economy that's going to develop clearly cannot develop by depending on others. And also in an economy that needs to create jobs, cannot create jobs by simply importing every single thing, because what you're doing is you're exporting jobs and you are decapitalizing your own rural economy. And we've decided that it makes sense for us, for goodness sake, to use what God has given Nigeria, optimize our land and water, our labor resources, produce our own food. Poverty is not an industry. You cannot trade in it. You've got to create wealth. And the way you create wealth is to produce your own food. You add value to every single thing. And for example, we look at what we're looking at today with the issue of rice, in the north and other parts of the country. When we started, people say, oh, well, we can't grow our own rice. We're condemned to be dependent on others. And President said, no, we're going to be self-sufficient in rice. It's a tough job, and we're going to do it. And we're doing very well, I must say. Despite what you hear sometimes, we're doing very well. Look, the numbers are as follows. Take the case of rice. We gave our farmers varieties that are long-grained parboiled, which means that it can meet the quality and compete with any imported rice that you get today. Secondly, what have we produced? Our farmers produced in 2012-2013 season 1.4 million metric tons of rice. In 2013 wet season and 2013-2014 dry season, that went up to 2.98 million metric tons of paddy. I just came from Kano, and we went to see a guy, there, Umza in the Kadawa Valley area. So piles and piles. It's like the rice pyramids are coming up. And that's Nigeria. And folks said we could not do that. And we've proven that we can do that. And today, that rice is entering the market. If we can mill all that rice at international grade quality, that is enough to cover almost 89% of our demand right there. And that's why you see the president is pushing very hard for us to get a lot more integrated rice mills into the system. We've done well. When we started, almost 3 years ago, there was only one integrated rice mill working in this country. That's Umza Rice in Kano. Today, 15 brand new integrated rice mills have been established. Total capacity of 540,000 metric tons being done. Small scale mills, they are very efficient. You go to Abakaliki area, you see rapid growth in number of small scale mills. There's a lot of that happening today. And what I just want to say by that is that, for me, if it's not grown in Nigeria, processed in Nigeria, and eaten by Nigerians, it's not good enough.
But you still see a lot of...
Just a minute. We have to go for the headline news. Don't worry.